Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, Life, Spirit and the Messy Middle. And I'm Maria. It's nice to see you back. If you don't know, I create this channel because I absolutely love talking about all sorts of things that are unconventional. So if you're new here, please check out all my other videos. And if you're not, welcome back. And today, I have a topic that was actually suggested to me by a friend. Hi. And I hadn't actually heard about this subject before. When she mentioned it, I didn't even know anything about it, which is weird because I know a lot about these sorts of subjects and, unconventional conspiracy theory type of, subjects. But this one, oh boy, my goodness, it took me down a rabbit hole. But let's get on with it. Although before I do, I just want to say a quick note and say that everything I share on this channel is for entertainment purposes only. They're only my personal reflection. They're my interpretations, the research I have basically gathered, and my beliefs. I'm speaking as an intuitive, as an empath, and someone who truly believes that we shouldn't dismiss the truth and the power we hold within ourselves. Now, this is just simply how I see it, and of course, you're welcome to see it differently. Okay? So, now we're diving into one of the most controversial and unsettling mysteries connected to UFO conspiracy theories. This is called the Dulce Base incident. Now, this story blends alleged underground facilities, government secrecy, extraterrestrials, and claims of psychological manipulation. Now, let's start with where the location is. Dulce is in New Mexico, and it's a small desert town with fewer than 3,000 residents, I'm sure. It's quite remote and at first glance, completely ordinary. But for decades, researchers and conspiracy theories, or theorists, have claimed that beneath nearby Archuleta Mesa, it lies a secret, and it's an underground secret base, supposedly stretching multiple levels. Now, this story began gaining traction in around the 1970s when strange cattle mutilations were reported in that actual region. Now, New Mexico State Trooper Gabriel Valdez investigated several of these incidences and claimed they were unlike anything he had ever seen before. He actually reported finding multiple mutilated cattle with very unusual surgical precision and strange debris nearby, even objects like gas masks and radar shafts. And in one of the more disturbing accounts connected to these investigations, there were claims of a mutilated cow that contained what was described as an unusual fetus. And according to reports, it didn't resemble a normal calf. It was said to have features that appeared mixed, almost like a combination of different species. Now, if you remember in my last video where I talked about how certain secret elite programs use terms like genetic engineering, DNA editing, chimeras, which is or are basically mixed cells from different types of organisms, and of course, cloning. I suggest you go back and take a look at that video. It's actually my Atlantis and Lemura video, and I will leave a link down below in the description box. But there's no verified evidence that support the claims, okay? And it's one of the more controversial parts of this story. But it's details like these that push the narrative beyond simple cattle mutilations. We've heard of cattle mutilations through several other, so-called conspiracy theory stories. This one is a little bit more unsettling. And when I read about this, it felt less like an isolated incident and more like, or something that, if true, obviously, would raise very serious questions. And I did dig a bit deeper into this subject, which I will go into a little later. Now, these discoveries led Gabriel to suspect that something more organized, possibly even governmental, might be involved. And around the same time, there were sightings, of course, of unusual lights and craft in the sky. And these were actually reported to not just him, but other officers in the area, which, of course, led to the mystery, obviously. Okay, lights in the sky, mutilated cattle. We all know where this subject is going. Then in 1979, physicist and businessman Paul Bennewitz claimed that he intercepted strange electronic signals near the region. And he believed these signals were coming from underground and maybe have been connected to non-human activity. Bennewitz claimed helped push the Dulce Base idea further into public discussion. Okay, now I will tell you what the Dulce incident is a little bit later, but what makes Paul Bennewitz's story even more unsettling is what allegedly happened next. And I would suggest you pay attention to what I'm about to say, because it is extremely relevant to what is happening now in the news, especially related to scientists and physicists and things like that. Now, after Paul brought his concerns forward, there were claims that individuals that were connected to military or intelligence circles began feeding him misleading information. He was reportedly given materials that happened to confirm his fears, including supposed decoded transmissions, which only reinforced his belief that something non-human was operating in this area. And over time, his situation began to unfortunately escalate. His interpretations became more intense, more erratic, more all-encompassing, and eventually it began to affect his mental health. Now, some researchers actually believe this wasn't accidental. Part of it was more part of a deliberate attempt to confuse, distract, and even discredit him, which I and many others believe so too. Now, if that's true, which you know me, I say what I believe always. I do believe it's true. But, you know, just to say, if it is true for other reasons, it raises a bigger question, because it's not just about what he saw, but about how information itself can be shaped. Because when you look at that situation, it's hard not to wonder, was this about uncovering the truth or controlling the narrative around it? Now, soon after this, John Lear, a former pilot, added to the narrative by describing a multi-level underground facility where different types of experiments were allegedly conducted, including genetic experiments and supposed alien hybrid research. Now, when I do this, it's because I actually believe it, but we'll stick to the narrative that they want us to give, unfortunately, in these types of platforms, because we get, red flagged and things like that. So, now, perhaps the most well-known figure connected to Dulce and this, incident is Paul Schneider. Schneider claimed to be a government engineer involved in underground construction projects. And in public presentations, he actually stated, this is verifiable, okay? You can go research it for yourself. Now, while working beneath the desert, military personnel encountered non-human entities. And according to his account, a big firefight broke out between soldiers and these beings, resulting in multiple casualties. This is what is referred to the Dulce Base incident. Okay? Now, Schneider also claimed he was injured during this incident and that a peace agreement was later reached between the military and these beings. Now, these claims are dramatic, yes, and there is no proven fact yet, but they became a central part of the Dulce Base legend, okay? And because of this account, by Schneider's descriptions of the alleged facility, it grew more detailed over time. Some diagrams claim the base extends several levels down, underground, each dedicated to different types of research. And some stories even describe areas focused on mind control, genetic experimentation, and even sections housing different extraterrestrial species. On one level, sometimes referred to the Nightmare Hall, it is said to be the most disturbing, where experiments on humans were allegedly conducted. And again, none of this has been verified, okay, except for by Schneider. But these stories continue to circulate. And you know what they say? Even mythology is based on some truth, some form of truth. Now, Another layer to this mystery involves psychological operations and disinformation, which is what happened to Bennewitz. Okay, the case of Paul Bennewitz is often cited as an example, because after reporting these strange signals, he was allegedly fed misleading information by individuals that were connected to these intelligence operations. And some accounts claim he was given software that appeared to decode alien transmissions and was encouraged to believe in these extraterrestrial explanations, okay? Of course, over time, these beliefs intensified, and he reportedly became increasingly distressed. And this, of course, led some researchers to argue, and this is my belief also, that disinformation campaigns may have played a very, very big role in shaping parts of Dulce Base narrative, okay? One name often mentioned in this context is Richard Doty, a former Air Force Base, not just some, Joe Blow, that did special investigations, okay? He was a specialist investigations officer who later admitted to interacting with actual UFO researchers. Some even believe he was involved in spreading this mixed disinformation, okay? Now, the full truth remains unclear, obviously, and that's the way it's meant to be, because that's the narrative that they create. It always does, right? Now, because of these types of actions that are deliberate, in my opinion, attempts to hide classified technology only lead to misunderstandings that grow over time. And perhaps that is exactly what is intended, obviously, to possibly create diversions, excuse me, and make things sound crazy and conspiracy theories. Just bear with me for a second. I'm just going to have a sip of my coffee. Lovely. Anyway, these sorts of things happen a lot, okay, behind the anti-disclosure community. Of course, this goes way, way deeper. There is a pattern that is associated to discrediting people, calling them crazy and conspiracy theorists. And it happens so often that many of us don't believe in the term conspiracy theory anymore. To me, and to many, many others, these are just facts that are just hidden. Now, let me give you a perspective, and this goes back to my last video. Bear with me. When you think about stories surrounding Atlantis, they're not just about a lost city. They're about a civilization that was said to be highly advanced, technologically, energetically, and even spiritually advanced. But a lot of those same accounts also talk about what happened when that knowledge was misused. There are descriptions of experiments of pushing boundaries too far of trying to control and manipulate things that maybe weren't fully understood. And eventually, that imbalance, that misuse of power is what is said to have led to the collapse of that civilization. And when I look at stories like Dulce, they terrify me, because the claims around these facilities, these genetic experiments and hidden research, I can't help to feel like there's a parallel there. You know, the collapse of a civilization. There is a parallel to what is happening at the moment. Now, I'm not saying they're exactly the same thing. When I mean parallel, there's different levels, okay? And I'm not saying this is proof of anything, obviously, but I do find, because this is my intuitive belief, that it's really interesting that the idea of knowledge being hidden, controlled, or taken too far seems to repeat itself. It's almost like whatever happened before to Atlantis, we haven't really learnt much from it, or at least humanity hasn't really learned much from it. And if that's even partially true, then maybe the real question isn't just what's being hidden, but why. Okay? Now, most recently, speculation has expanded beyond the original Dulce Base claims. And I have read that some actual theories connect alleged disappearances of these scientists who are now being covered. This speculation, these scientists and knowledge of it are now being covered by many journalists, even in mainstream. And even the White House has said they would investigate this. I don't believe they investigate anything, to be honest with you, because, you know, they did say that they weren't going to investigate the e-files, and look what's happened with that. You know, we're talking about an administration who ran on peace and making their nation amazing, and lower costs of everything, and no war and all this stuff, and yet look what they have been doing. But I digress. Okay, now many of these scientists actually did research involving advanced propulsion, reversed engineered materials, and unconventional energy technologies. And this is very important, okay? Look what's happening with the WAR, or the war in Iran. Why are they fighting? They're fighting over oil, which is an energy-based technology, okay? Not really a technology, but it's energy-based. We know it is. Now, these claims often reference, I'm sorry, but every time I talk about, my voice is going. Every time these claims are often referenced classified programs and suggest attempts to suppress certain kinds of knowledge, okay? And another branch of the Dulce narrative also connects to the reptilian theory, okay? The Anunnaki reptilian theory. And this idea suggests that the existence of non-human beings influencing human systems, sometimes described as interdimensional or extraterrestrial in origin. And in modern discussions, some interpret this more metaphorically, okay, as a symbol of power or of powerful elites acting without accountability, while others take it more literally. And this aspect remains one of the most debated and controversial elements of the broader narrative, okay? Because it all comes down to the narrative, right? When we're talking about everything, again, and I talk about this in my other videos, everything that we've been taught to believe, it all comes down to a specific narrative, and that's control, okay? I always ask whether you take this literally or symbolically, it's up to you, whether that's part of your inner truth to believe that these are all just conspiracy theories, everyone is crazy, really, or whether that inner truth, when you hear about these things, like myself, send out little red flags and go, uh-oh, okay, we need to pay attention to this sort of thing. The questions about secrecy, perception, it is how information is shaped. And it also highlights something really important. And that is when information is deliberately hidden, incomplete, or manipulated, it does create space speculation. And over time, those speculations can become very powerful narratives. Maybe that's why the Dulce Base mystery still resonates today. Okay? I know it resonated with me. And when I started researching and going down that rabbit hole, I started seeing all this other information that correlates. Because it touches on a deeper question of who controls knowledge, what is classified, and how much of what we see and hear is shaped by forces that we don't fully understand. Okay? Now, this is where I get into my tarot reading. And I'm almost excited about doing the tarot set. I'm going to do just a normal Rider-Waite tarot. I'm almost excited about what the cards are going to tell us in regards to this situation. I really want to know what is true and what isn't. Okay, so let's ask, is what happened at Dulce Base in regards to those extraterrestrial beings and that little firefight true? Are the conspiracy theories in regards to Dulce Base true? Are the conspiracy theories in regards to the Dulce Base true? Are the conspiracy theories in regards to the Dulce Base true? Shuffle a little bit higher so you can see. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. First card that came out, the Temperance. Okay. Which to me kind of signifies that there's a balance. Okay. Some of it is true, some of it isn't. All right. That's what we want to know. Are the conspiracy theories about the Dulce Base true? Spirit guides, if you can give me cards of truth and of the light. And as usual, please take what resonates with you and leave what doesn't. Oh, there's another one that's coming out. Oh, too many cards. Sorry, I had 3 cards that came out. I'm not going to take them because there's too many. All right. But I will take this one. And that is the 7 of Pentacles. Okay. Now, one more card. Here's a Dulce Base incident, or the conspiracy theories around it. True. Ooh, okay. One more card, please, Spirit Guides, if you can. And I got the High Priestess. All right. So when I got the Temperance straight away, it told me that there is some truth, of course, to what happened. But there's a balance of truth and conspiracy, real conspiracy theory, okay? Which basically suggests to me that some of this information has been taken out of context. Now, I'm not saying that the gentleman was wrong, but, you know, I can say that yesterday I flew over, you know, Jamaica, so to speak. I flew over Jamaica. Now, I could be trying to say that I actually flew. Some people will interpret that as I flew via plane. Okay? So the information is relative because it always depends on who is listening to it and how you take it. Okay? And that's in respect to all information. Everyone sees and hears information differently. Okay? And we also interpret information differently. Now, what is very interesting is the 7 of Pentacles in this. Because in the 7 of Pentacles, it is a card of working hard for something, okay? Usually, so you can get, you know, rewarded and paid. But in this incident, I think it's people working hard to suppress the information. Okay? Which, of course, unfortunately, Bennewitz was, or Paul Bennewitz was, one of the people who got sucked into it. Okay? I won't say sucked into it. The poor man, he believed in what he was getting, and I believe what he was getting was true, but then they started giving him false information, okay? And this is what it is. It happens a lot in the UFO, in the UFO community, okay, and even in spiritual communities, the sort of spirituality that I believe in, okay, they call it occultist. And what they do is they get a little snippet of that information and then they come up with ludicrous things just to discredit people who talk about, you know, what they've seen, what they've heard. Normally, that's when they're called conspiracy theories. Now, I know you've got you can see the reflection in the light. I've got the light on because today's a very, very overcast day. It's quite cold. That's why I'm wearing this. It suddenly changed the weather. So, but as I was going on, this is a card of working hard at something, and I interpret it as trying to suppress information. Okay. And then you have the High Priestess. Now, the High Priestess has a few interpretations. One of the interpretations is to use your own intuition. Again, this is what I always talk about in my videos, okay? The truth within you. Because you're going to hear lots of things throughout your life. And you will get instances where you get actual proof of things, and then you get information or things where you kind of don't know whether you want to believe it or not. Okay? I don't know if I believe 100% of what happened, of this incident, this fight between humans and extraterrestrial beings. I'm sorry, my dog's barking. But I don't know if I believe everything, but I can't really discredit it either, because my intuition is saying that something really happened and they have tried to suppress it completely. Okay, they don't want that information getting out because they don't want us to know that there are actually star beings, extraterrestrials on Earth right now. They're here. Okay, and we are being manipulated by some of these extraterrestrials. Okay, they are infiltrating our leaders, and a lot of other things. Okay, because they don't want us to know the truth of who we are. It's all about control. Okay, and I do believe this is what this card is suggesting. Okay, that we need to use our own intuition, and that not everything is black and white. Okay, that means literally. Not everything is either one or the other. Sometimes, okay, it's just that messy middle. I always bring it, because of course, that's what my channel is called. It's called, Life, Spirit, and the Messy Middle. And a lot of things are in that messy middle. And I say messy because it's hard to decipher. Okay? It's hard to decipher sometimes. You are not born with a manual. Okay? So basically, as you grow and you learn all sorts of information, you need to decipher for yourself what you believe in and what you don't. That's very important. And no one should judge you for what you believe in. Okay? No one. Now, I am going to leave it at that because the cards always tell me the same sort of thing. And that's the point I always try to get across, okay, is that you need to believe in your own inner truth and in the powers that you have within yourself, okay? Now, before I finish, I just want to say something a little bit more personal. This channel is very small. I'm doing this from home in what I call my messy middle. And I'm a single mum. My my daughter is on the spectrum, and I'm on a disability pension. I also look after my elderly father. And I'm just trying to build something meaningful here. I love doing this. I love writing and reading and researching and talking about things that are not conventional and boring, which most mainstream things are. I'm trying to build something, not just for myself, believe me, but for people who are curious about the same things as I am. And if you've made it this far and you enjoy these kinds of conversations about mysteries, hidden history, alternative perspectives, I'd really love your support. By liking this video, subscribing, or even just leaving a comment or just sharing generally helps me more than you even might realize, okay? It helps this channel grow, and it tells the algorithm, okay, that these conversations actually matter. And my hope is that one day this could become something sustainable, something that allows me to keep researching, creating, and sharing. Also, I have something else I'd like to share. This is my book, The Elemental Crown, and it's book one of the Elemental Realms saga. I will leave a description of this book down below in the description box. Please support me also by buying my book. It comes in ebook form and it comes in paperback form, okay? And you can buy it at many retailers where they sell books. Mainly some of the ones that I can think of off the top of my head at the moment are Amazon. You know, if you're in Australia, there are many sites that you can go and purchase this book also, and I would appreciate it. This is a love story for me, okay? It is a love story, yes, but this is my passion, okay? And this is what I live for. And I hope that if you buy it and you enjoy it, you let me know as well, okay? Now, as always, I'm not here to tell you what to believe. I'm just here to explore the possibilities with you. So, on that note, once again, thank you for being here, and I'll see you in the next one. Okay? Mwah. Love you all. Bye for now.